Alright, so today we will be making Legos in Google SketchUp. We will be practicing small scale modeling as well as using guidelines. And to do that we actually need to use a new template. So when you get to this point we're going to choose template and we're going to choose millimeters and hit start using SketchUp. And we're going to start out by making a rectangular prism that is 8 millimeters by 8 millimeters with a 9.5 millimeter height. So to do that, I'm going to use the rectangle tool and start with a square that is 8 millimeters. And notice I'm just typing this, comma 8 mm for millimeters, and I can hit enter. And you'll notice that it's really small, but you can see that this scale is set so that this person of regular height should be much bigger than this. So to be able to see what we're working on here, we're going to use this zoom tool, and we're going to drag a box around this, and it's just going to be a little bit easier than maybe using our regular zoom tool would be. Oops. Alright, and then we're going to use the orbit tool to kind of get a good height, and this is our 8 by 8 millimeter square, and we're going to pull it up 9.5 millimeters. 9.5 mm, and I can hit enter. We are going to use guidelines, and we are going to use them so that we can make sure we can find the center of this rectangle. Because right now, if we wanted to make, this is going to be a single Lego. If we wanted to make that right now, we'd have a hard time finding where the center of this was. So I'm going to click so that nothing's selected, and then we're going to use this ruler. And this ruler draws, it's called the tape measure, but it draws guidelines. So we're going to start from this endpoint and go to this endpoint, and you'll notice that that guideline is created, and let's just do the same with the other corners. We have our two guidelines there. Now we can just grab the circle tool, and we know that the intersection, you'll actually get that little X, and it will say that you have selected the intersection. We can use that to make a 2.4 millimeter a circle with a 2.4 millimeter radius, and there we go. We're going to raise it up 1.8 millimeters. And then we are going to make a little inner circle here. This is optional just to kind of make it look like a Lego. Now I could try to use guidelines here to draw another circle, but can you guys think about what would be an easier tool to just create an inner shape here? If you guessed offset tool, you were correct. So the offset tool, remember, just takes this outer edge shape and makes a smaller inner one. So we're going to click, and it doesn't matter, this is just for looks. So I'm going to make it look kind of in my mind what a Lego would look like, about 0.7 millimeters. Now you're going to orbit until you can see kind of the bottom of the Lego, and this takes some practice, but I just hit O on my keyboard to get to the orbit, and I can use a combination of holding down shift so that I can get the pan, and just orbiting and panning until I see the bottom of my Lego. Now a Lego, right, will have this empty area at the bottom so that you can snap it. So to get that, we are again going to use the offset tool, and we're going to use it to create kind of a 1.5 millimeter frame. And then we're going to push this up by 6 millimeters. Right, and we got our Lego. It looks pretty good. If you want to see what the inside looks like, you can go into View and change the face style to X-ray. And we can also color it, right? So we don't have just a clear Lego. So I triple clicked to select the whole Lego. And then I can actually just over here use the paint tool. And I'm going to make mine blue. And I can actually just click and grab. See how I just grab this little color and drop it on the Lego, and it works. And I should note, if you can't find the paint tool, make sure that you have your tool palette set to large tool set. Alright, and that's our Lego. If we want to erase these guidelines, we can use the eraser tool, which you can either click to get or just hit E on your keyboard, and you can just erase those guidelines that way. And then again, I can turn my view back to regular, turn X-ray off, and you'll see what it kind of looks like that way. Alright, now we're going to make a 6x2 based Lego, and this would be the example of a 1. We're going to make a 6x2, so I'm going to kind of pan over. And we're going to start with a 32 by 16 millimeter base. A 32 millimeter, 16 millimeter base. We're going to raise it up 10 millimeters, 10 mm. Okay, so now we're going to do something where we divide the edge. So to do that, we're going to select one of the long edges, and we're going to right-click it. And if you're using a Mac, you can control-click, and you're going to hit divide. And you'll notice that nothing has really changed. I don't want you to click anything else or type anything on your keyboard quite yet. You're going to type, just plain type into the keyboard, 8. And notice that in the bottom right-hand corner, segments now has 8 next to it, and hit enter. And you can kind of see here how the line has been divided into these 8 sections. So we're going to do that to the other side as well. So we'll right-click or control-click this side, divide, and then just type 8. And then we're going to use the guide tool to create guidelines at each of the divisions. And notice how I can just grab it. You can kind of see where the divisions are. These points here. And it looks like this one kind of got messed up, so I'm going to use the eraser tool. What is going on with that one? Just try again here. There it goes. Alright. And we're going to divide the short sides into 4 sections. So if you remember, grab this line, control or right click it, and you hit divide. And this time we're going to type 4 and hit enter. We're going to do the same for the other side. Make sure you're not selecting the face, but you're selecting the edge. Okay, we're going to make guidelines along the top of this, but note that we're not going to make 3 guidelines. We're only going to make guidelines, you can see this guide point, we're only going to make guidelines here and here. So I can show you what I mean by that. I use the ruler tool, and I go from here to here, and then the far one to the far one, but not the middle. At each of the intersections that I'm going to highlight here, and it kind of goes every other on the top, we're going to make a circle of radius 2.5 millimeters. And notice that we're skipping this one. So let me show you what that looks like on one side. We have here at the intersection a circle of radius 2.5 millimeters. And then we're going to skip this one, and then again 2.5 millimeters, skip this one, and we want 8 circles in all. Alright, and same on the other side. Alright, we have all 8 circles. And make sure, I know this may seem a little bit fast, so always feel free to pause and go at your own speed, and then pause and play. You're going to use the dimensions tool, and I wanted to just show this here to you all today so that you would understand. If you're making a model or someone asks you to make a model, a lot of times they're going to want to see how big the pieces are, so you can use the dimensions tool to do that. We're going to click once at one side endpoint and again at the other end. And then you'll notice that you can move your mouse. I'm not clicking and dragging. And when I move my mouse, I can kind of set where I want the dimension to be. So I'm going to kind of pull it off to the side on that red axis. And we're going to do that for all the kind of the major dimensions so far. Go off to the side there. And there. And it's just a way of someone else, if they want to make this, they now kind of know what the dimensions are. And one more, or a couple more here. I'm actually going to do it from kind of this line. From this point to this guide point, because that's kind of a big square section here. And then also, I'm just going to click this circle and it'll just give me a diameter there. Alright. We're going to use the eraser tool. Well, you could use the eraser tool to erase the guidelines, but kind of an easier way since I have so many and I want them all gone. We go to Edit, Delete Guides. You'll notice that those all go away now. And we're going to raise each circle by 1.8 millimeters, and I want you to try to do this by inference as opposed to just typing. So for the first one, you'll type 1.8 mm and hit enter. And then for the rest of them, I just want you to use that first circle that you made as an inference point and use its height to drag up the rest. And it's just good practice to get into how to use reference points. So I'm just kind of pulling up and using the height of the other, finding an endpoint on one of the other ones I raised, and that allows me to use it as I want it high, just as high as this other one. It's pretty fast. And now, top of our Lego is done. Again, we want to make it so that they're quote-unquote snappable. So we're going to flip over to the bottom here. And we're going to, once again, create a 1 millimeter offset. So we're going to use the offset tool, and our frame is going to be 1 millimeter. And we're going to push up, oops, by 6 millimeters. Alright, looks pretty good. But we are missing one thing here. If you were to try to snap this piece, the blue piece, into this, it wouldn't quite work. You need the 3 inner circles that Legos have. So we're going to get those, and we are going to need guide tools again, and we're going to need to divide the sides again. So I'm going to select this long side and divide it into 4 parts. And same with the other side. And I'm going to create guidelines then. Right across. I'm also going to make a guideline from the midpoint of this side to the midpoint of this side. Oh, it looks like it's not quite wanting to work. It wants to make a perpendicular one, and SketchUp does do that sometimes. It thinks it's being helpful, but it's not quite what we want. So to fix that, let's just go ahead and divide these 2 points. We'll divide this side by 2, and we'll divide this side by 2. So it'll work around for us. And we'll use the guidelines to connect the 2 guide points. Go. And there we go, and that works. Alright, we're going to create 3mm circles at the intersection, and then we're actually going to push those up. And this, you're really just going to have to trust in the distance that you're giving. So I'm typing in 6 mm and hitting enter. And it should look like this. And now it should kind of look more like the regular inside of a Lego. We are once again going to create offsets. And these offsets are going to be actually 0.5 mm. A little thinner. 5 millimeters. I'm going to do it on all 3. And we're going to use the push-pull tool and push up the insides of these 6 millimeters. Just getting that extra level of detail in our Lego. Alright, optionally you could add more dimensions. We're not going to do that, but we can go ahead and add color again like we did for the other Lego. So actually my paint tool is still up. First step, you got to make sure and triple click that whole Lego, and then let's make this one like a red. Like a reddish pink. I'm just going to click and drag that on top, and we get our pink Lego. You can set the view to be either X-ray or not. Kind of gives a cool effect, and you can see your beautiful Legos.